Hi. Hi, I'm Immy. This is my boyfriend, Andy's channel. We date and sleep with women together, explore sex, kink, and self-development. We record videos together on this channel too, sharing everything that we've learned over the years so that you can do it too. We're talking how I learned to become dominant as a previously ultra submissive woman, or girl at the time. I was so submissive that I struggled to look Andy or any other partners in the eye, even outside the setting of kink and BDSM. I was very shy, very insecure, very little confidence, and working on exactly those things has been one of the biggest game changers in learning to be dominant and more assertive in the bedroom. And while I can be more submissive at heart, I will very happily and very much enjoy dominating Andy or any girls that we date together. I'm not a professional dom. I have not dominated any men other than Andy, but I feel very comfortable being a switch, meaning that I switch between dominant and submissive roles. And for me, it's a really fun thing to explore stepping into that dom energy in the bedroom. I think my biggest tip for any women looking to become more dominant or men to encourage dominant energy in a woman that they're seeing, one of the biggest things is to be as comfortable as possible around your partner. It was only after years of being with Andy, feeling very comfortable and very secure in the space around him, that I felt safe actually practicing being dominant. Because unless you've already established yourself in a dominant submissive dynamic, that you're into BDSM, that you like that sort of lifestyle or even just that sort of sex, it can be a hard thing to just start, and probably a little bit weird if you just start doing it out of nowhere. So what I would recommend is bringing it up in a conversation, having a chat about it first, if it's something that you would like to try or have your partner try. A very simple sentence that you might want to use to have that conversation is, I think it'd be fun if I took the lead in the bedroom. Would you like that? Or, I'd love for you to try taking the lead more and being more dominant in bed. Is that something you'd be interested in? Because it could be a potentially confronting conversation if you said to your partner, I want you to be my mistress and tie me up and peg me. That's a lot for somebody to take in. Or even in the reversal of, I want to be your mistress and tie you up and peg you. That's a lot to take on. So having a more gentle introduction, saying things like, can I take the lead or be more dominant, can be a nice way to dip your toe in and explore it and see if you like it without putting the pressure on yourself to commit to being a full-on dominatrix in the bedroom. So absolutely, if you're new to any of this, if you're nervous, whether that's you're on the receiving end or the one dominating, start slow. As the woman, that can be something as simple as just being in the more dominant sexual position, riding him, being on top, being the one that controls the pace. Other really simple ideas that can be appealing to basically any guy that wants to have sex. Riding him really, really fast and then suddenly stopping and going really, really slow and teasing and sensual, getting him worked up, taking control in that way. Some very light choking might be another option, especially if you're already riding him, having your hand gently around his neck, squeezing gently. Can be very nice, simple ways to get started with that dominance. Some very cheap and easy to procure props that help a lot: a simple blindfold or a pair of handcuffs. If you have his hands tied above his head or handcuffed to the bed and a blindfold on, you can just have normal sex and you'll be dominating him. That can go a really long way into starting to get into that dominant energy. And I actually find that blindfolds can be a bit of a cheat code, because if your partner's blindfolded and you're kind of standing there or sitting there or lying on the bed, not knowing what to do to your partner, you're the one that's meant to be more dominant and taking the lead. If he's blindfolded and you're quiet, he's not going to know that you have no clue what you're doing. You could be making confused, unsure faces. You could kind of just be standing there looking a bit silly. He's not going to know. He's going to think that you're the one that's in control and he's going to be waiting there in anticipation. And it can be a nice buffer against feeling a little bit silly. So I would highly recommend a blindfold, or even just something as simple as a sexy outfit can go a hell of a long way. Again, it's just about taking those little things, taking those baby steps into stepping into that dominant energy. And so all of those suggestions are exactly how I started. It was only after I practiced the smaller, easier, more manageable things, took those little steps towards being more dominant, that I started to be able to have the confidence to build on my dom character. once I built the foundation of being more confident in that energy, then I was able to then take more control, be more assertive, talk more, direct more, be more passionate. And often when I felt a bit unsure as to what to do in the moment when I was meant to be the one taking the lead, is that I would just picture what I wanted done to me, because I like being more submissive. So I imagined what would I like in that submissive role, and then I just did that. Another thing that has helped me a hell of a lot is making sure that when I've started exploring my dominant character, that I'm still authentic to me. An example of that for me personally is that I'm still very loving in my domination. I don't think I'm somebody that can be sadistic or humiliating or super degrading. I don't want to hurt my partner. At the end of the day, I'm doing all of this for both of our pleasure. And I probably just wouldn't be into somebody that really wanted me to hurt them. And what I do instead when I'm dominant, I try and step into a more confident energy. It's not about being cruel or domineering, which some people might like. I prefer that I feel sexy and empowered and teasing, almost like a succubus that's going to drive you crazy, but you're going to love it at the same time. It feels more naughty and devious and cheeky rather than, "You're going to get on your knees for me, you stupid piece of shit." That's the opposite of the energy that I like. It's important to me that I still maintain a strong sense of femininity in my dominant character. I'm not confrontational. I don't like yelling. And so I'm always making sure that I'm still doing things that I like and feel good to me. So if you want ideas or phrases or words that might feel better to use that I like to use, I often tease, and if I'm the one in control, there's a lot of denial going on, and I'm being very vocal and I'm saying things like, "Would you like me to do this? I think you might have to beg for that. I don't think you want it badly enough. I think I'm going to have to make you a little bit more desperate. I think you're going to need to show me that you really, really want it. Tell me how badly you want it. You're so needy for me, aren't you?" I might be being very gentle in my approach, but I'm stepping into that feminine power of being able to wield my sexuality. That's who I am when I'm a dom. And if you would like more suggestions, Andy and I actually did a full video on FemDom, which I will link to down below. And so those are some of the suggestions of things that I like, but what you might like or what you might want from your partner, if you're encouraging her to be more dominant, is different from person to person. So play around with what you like, try different things, because at the end of the day, you're only going to get good at being dominant when you feel good doing what you're doing, because it's going to mean that you want to do it more. Have a little conversation about what each of you like. A really nice, easy way to do that is to write a sexual bucket list. So that's just writing down all of the different fantasies you might have, switching that sexual bucket list with your partner so you each get to read one another's, see the things that they're into that they like. It's a nice, easy way to have a very candid conversation about your sexual interests or your kinks. You can pull inspiration from porn, from written erotica, from audio erotica. Another fun one might be to do the BDSM test or other similar quizzes to get you thinking about new things or dynamics that you would like to try during sex. As I said before, props or toys can be a really easy way to step into that dominant energy, because as soon as you're wielding a whip or a paddle or a collar and leash, all of a sudden you're dominant, basically without even trying. And so even just a trip to your local adult store to have a look at all of the different toys, see what's out there, see what might intrigue you, what you might like to try, might be a good way to start. And at the end of the day, with all of this stuff, give yourself permission to suck, because I don't think anybody from day one says, "I want to be dominant," starts being dominant in the bedroom and does a fantastic job at it. You're probably going to make mistakes and look a little bit silly, and that's okay. And that's why having a partner that you feel comfortable around can make such a big difference. At the end of the day, even if you mess up, you know there's going to be a safe space to receive that, and then it's going to be totally okay. When I first started with this sort of stuff, when I was really submissive, when I found taking the lead to be incredibly difficult, when I had very little confidence, often I'd get in the middle of something, I'd say something, and then I'd just freeze up, and then I'd feel ridiculous, and I felt a bit insecure, and I'd stop and I'd say, I don't know what to do. I feel silly. And I would just admit those things out loud, and then often, because Andy was usually in the dominant position, right in the middle of me trying to be a dom, I would bury my head in his chest and be like, I don't know what to do. Can you please just take the lead now? And having the trust and having the ability to do that made it easier for me to keep practicing these things. It helped so much to have that reassurance, because it's so much nicer and easier to practice all of those things if your partner's going to be building you up and encouraging you, rather than shutting you down or contributing to your feeling silly, pointing out that you're not doing a very good job. That's the last thing you want when you want to explore being more dominant. And I think the sign of a really great partner is someone that, like, even if you are a little bit clumsy or a little bit awkward, maybe you say something that just sounds a little bit silly when you're trying to be dominant or authoritative or seductive. Maybe you sound like a dope, but it can be really nice if your partner is encouraging, then they go along with it anyway. You kind of gloss over it. You don't point it out. At the end of the day, your partner is on your team. And if you are a man or a woman, I guess, who wants your female partner to become more assertive, if you know what you would like from them, you can help them along in some ways. So when I first started this, when I started practicing being more dominant, sometimes Andy would put his own hands above his head, basically to signal to me like, hey, can you pin my hands above my head? Or he would kind of guide my hand to his throat, so I would choke him gently. And so if you're in the position where you're encouraging your partner to be more dominant, you can gently guide them along. Sometimes you can start with that dirty talk. You can start putting yourself in that submissive role with the words that you're saying. Saying things like, I love it when you take control. I feel so helpless to you. You can do whatever you want to me. Those sort of things are going to give your partner confidence, are going to encourage them to build upon that dominant energy to become more of a dom. And yes, is that ultimately a super dominant thing to need encouragement? No, it's not really. But if somebody hasn't tried this thing, it might take a little bit of help to get to the end goal. But I can promise that if you put in the practice, that you give it a go, that you maybe push past the uncomfortable or nervous, awkward parts, it is so worth it. It is so hot, so much fun. I found that there was this new part of myself that I was able to explore, that confidence and that empowerment when I experimented with my dominant energy. So if you would like advice or direct help with any of these subjects, whether that's as a woman learning to become more dominant, as a man seeking out dominant women or encouraging existing partners to be more dominant, or if it's anything about sex, pleasure, BDSM, self-development, all of those good things, Andy offers coaching, which I can definitely be a part of if you would like my perspective on anything, where Andy or I can give you a massive boost with all of the things that we've learnt ourselves over the years to fast track any goals you might have around these things. So link to coaching and a little bit more information about that will be below. And otherwise, I hope you go out there, crush your goals, and have plenty of fun too. I kind of like that sound.